if you're a good actor, you won't do anything. That is what one of my acting teachers used to tell me. And it used to drive me absolutely nuts because the job of an actor is to do so much: script analysis, scene study, memorization of words, figuring out your emotional life, your core, your context, all of these things I used to think was the job. But now, after 5 years in this industry, now working full-time and actually seeing the life and the job of an actor, I would argue that that's not the life. The job of an actor is, in fact, to do nothing. And today we're going to talk about how you can strip it all back and get back to your core roots and do nothing in order to get more jobs and opportunities as an actor. The one definition of acting that we see by Meisner is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. It's his definition of acting. And I argue that that couldn't be any closer to the truth. Because you see, it wasn't until I did that I started being able to see the opportunities open in front of me. When you want to take a picture, let's say you're taking a picture of your child, or the light streaming through trees in autumn and it's absolutely beautiful, or you're taking a beautiful shot of your spouse cooking dinner, anything of that nature. You take out your phone, you compose the image, everything is right there in front of you. You're so ready to take the picture, and then you think to yourself, oh wait, it needs something, right? I need to be in it, so let me do it selfie. Or, hey babe, can you move over to the left a little bit? Or you try and manufacture it. When you do that, the moment is gone. And more often than not, it's not what you wanted to capture in the first place, because we have put ourselves into it. At the very least, if you capture it in that moment in time, just like it is just a snapshot of an event that happened. It holds the memory of what happened in that moment. And it's not something that we're going to look at every second or every minute or every day, maybe not even every week or every month or every year. But down the line, when we look at that photo, it's going to recall that emotion. That is what acting is. You see, acting is different from anything I've ever done in my creative time on this earth working in creative industries over the last 20 years, because it is about stripping back yourself, and simply existing in a moment. And that's very difficult to do because, unlike everything else, we know what's going to happen. We have a script that tells us what's going to happen. We know the beats, we know the words, we know what people are going to say to us and how we're going to respond to those people. We know the beginning, the middle, the end. We know the hero's journey. We know every single thing that's going to happen, and we believe that that is our job to know and to carry all of that. But it's not. And I'm going to tell you what you can do, some concrete exercises you can do to get out of that mind shift and to go back to doing nothing so that you can start living and existing. Meisner has an exercise called the repetition exercise. And in the repetition exercise, you go back and forth with a partner, just talking about something that is existing in front of you. So I'm wearing a black shirt. I would say, I have a black shirt. To where my partner would say, you have a black shirt. I have a black shirt. You have a black shirt. I have a black shirt. You have a black shirt. And then if that person were to, let's say, start to smile while saying their line, I can remark, you're smiling. They would remark, I'm smiling. You're smiling. I'm smiling. And we'd go back and forth ad nauseum. This exercise exists to remove us from this that we consider to be our work. You see, in this exercise, you have to exist in the moment. You're commenting on what is actually happening and transpiring. You're not waiting for them to say something so that you can say something. You have to literally listen and exist in the moment. And that is the only job of an actor. I mean, we've all seen examples of people who are on TV, on the stage, in movies, and we go, you are not doing a good job. Something is wrong here. Something is not right. And that's typically because they are out of context with what is happening around them. They're not existing in the same way of what's happening around them. And we can feel that. So the magic is broken. This exercise strips you back and helps you truly learn how to exist in the moment, to not wait just to respond after they speak, which is what you do. That's your line. That's what you're doing. But how to listen and watch, and then your response is prompted by the reality of the situation versus just by it's your turn to speak, which is not how we live. We trample over each other all the time in conversation. We try and butt in all the time. We raise our voice. We get really quiet. We have different ways of living and existing and speaking that's not just simply waiting for someone to finish so that you can respond. So that's Meisner's approach. Stella Adler's approach is not in the same exact vein, but it does still work to get you outside of yourself so that you can still fully immerse yourself and live in the moment, and that is imaginary work. You see, imaginary work exists to pull you outside of trying to force an emotion or force a motive to happen. So if I was in a highly emotional scene and I was relying on memory of someone who I loved dying, that's still linked intrinsically to me. It's someone who I love. So I think of someone who's related to me, who I know, and I know that situation. So that still pulls me outside of that character, because that character who I'm existing as and working as is not me. So imaginary work helps you to put yourself outside of yourself so that you can simply still bring in that emotion naturally, but in a way that comes from outside of you. And we would typically do this by closing our eyes and manufacturing a scenario or a scene outside of yourself that is still highly emotionally charged. But it doesn't need to come from our own lives. We are creative, intelligent, imaginative human beings. It doesn't need to come from ourselves in order to have the same emotional reaction. So imaginary work is what we would do in order to get outside of ourselves and bring realism into a moment. You see, both of these things, these techniques exist to help us bring reality into a scene, but outside of the context of ourselves, so that we learn how to exist without thinking of the words, without thinking of the script, without thinking of the mark that we're supposed to hit, or we're supposed to stand in front of the microphone, or, okay, you need to say, I have a black shirt so that I can say I have a black shirt. Because I would argue, after being annoyed for years of my life, that the job of an actor is, in fact, to do nothing but simply exist in the moment. And if you want to learn how to better exist in the moment, I have a Patreon channel. It's free. Down in the description below, we do scene studies, script analysis. We're going to start doing live Q&As probably every Monday, but I'm going to schedule that out. And we're going to start to do a lot more on that channel, more than I can do over here on YouTube. So go over there. It's free. Sign up. And like I say at the end of every video, get outside, drink water, read a book of poetry, for God's sakes. It'll change your life. And stay creative.